Everybody. We are going to continue our conversation about mindfulness and understanding parts of the brain, with also looking at that strategy that we looked at earlier in the week called tapping. Today, we're going to take a look at the brain science behind why tapping works and why it's effective. Yes, William, I still have your desk set up because you all will be back in April for iLearn. So why would I tear all these desks down just to set them up a month again from now? So that is why they're staying up. All right. Mindfulness and why tapping works. I am going to ask you, if you would please, to go to your Seesaw activities and click on the light bulb, and you will see an activity called Mindfulness, Why Tapping Works. Mindfulness and why tapping works. You guys are going to go ahead and click on the Add Response button. I'm going to open up the instructional slides and my special writing tools, but we are going to read a section of text today that's going to explain why that strategy for tapping works on the brain according to the parts of the brain that we've already learned. So we're going to look at some brain science today. You're going to be neurologist or brain scientist. How about that? We're going to look at these parts of the brain and why they function so that we can understand better how to control our emotional responses and how we can help ourselves when we're feeling overwhelmed, okay? So you guys have added a response. I'm going to go to our instructional slides. Just follow along with me if you would, please. We don't have anything on your instructional slides yet, so you're just looking at my screen. All righty. So we saw this image on Monday, emotional regulation and the brain. There are three main parts of your brain that we are going to focus on. And the first part is that prefrontal cortex. This is where your prefrontal cortex is, okay? That is what you normally think of when you say brain, because your prefrontal cortex is in charge of what we call executive functioning and emotional regulation. So that prefrontal cortex is going to be in charge of your heartbeat, of your breathing, of your circulation, of the fact that when you touch something hot, you jump back, okay? It's got those reactions that are executive, that you don't have to think about, they just happen, okay? It's also got that emotional regulation. So it's the part of your brain from second steps that wraps around to control that thinking part of your brain. So that when that emotions are freaking out, your thinking part says, hold on, we can solve this, okay? The problem is most people's amygdala, right here, their amygdala is usually stronger than their prefrontal cortex because they haven't trained their brain to understand, I can change this, okay? I have control over the way that I act. That's something that we have to train our brains to understand, okay? So our prefrontal cortex helps us to think, and our amygdala helps us to react, okay? Freak out when something's going terribly wrong or run away when we see something scary. That's our amygdala that tells us that. And your amygdala is, if you were to like take right where your ear is and just kind of push straight through to about where your nose is, so go about back that far, that'd be about where your amygdala is. So it's kind of in that central part of your lower head, okay? So we're going to look at prefrontal cortex and amygdala today. Remember, there are some characters that can help you remember these parts. We've got Tex, the prefrontal cortex. She's the smart sheriff, right? So we want the sheriff to be in charge. We don't want the jumpy superhero Amy to be in charge, because even though Amy's trying to help, when she comes in and goes bam and lands, our brains go ah and freak out, okay? So we want to help our sheriff be in charge. Now, Amy, the amygdala, can help us when there is danger, okay? Amy is the reason that when you see a bear, you turn around and run away, okay? She tells you that is dangerous, all right? Amy is the reason that when you smell smoke from a fire, you go, is the house on fire? Right? She's the reason that you're able to understand danger and make a choice. So Amy is not useless. We need Amy to stay alive. The amygdala is a very important part of our brain that helps us survive. The problem is when Amy comes in for things that aren't survival. So an example might be, and I'm sure none of you have done this, but you might have seen it in your classroom. You know, a teacher says, hey, can you pick up your pencil? It's on the ground. And a kid goes, oh my gosh, and just freaks out, right? Over something very small. That is because their prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet. They think that that very small request is danger because their brain is always thinking about that stress. Okay, so we're trying to help Amy respond when we need her and not when it's a very small problem. Okay, Steve, a question?
So basically, Amy is chaotic evil, chaotic good.
Chaotic good. That is a good way to put it. Yes, Amy can be chaotic good. So she does help us. Okay, the amygdala in our brain helps us very much. Okay, but we only want her chaos when we need chaos to survive. Okay, so when your parents ask you to clean your room and you go and freak out, that's not when you need Amy. Okay, cleaning your room isn't going to kill you. All right, that's when you need your prefrontal cortex to say, oh man, I really wanted to keep playing my game. Okay, I'll go clean my room. All right. But a lot of us have our amygdalas freak out and go, what? Clean my room? I'm playing a video game. How could I clean my? And we freak out. And that's not a freak out moment. Okay. So that's what we're training. So yes, Steve, chaotic good is a good way to put that. Levin, something to say?
About the bear, when Amy comes in, you should run away from the bear. You should walk slowly away from the bear.
Now, Levin, here's the thing. The reason that you know that is because your prefrontal cortex understands that. You have told your brain, when I see a bear, if I run, they're going to chase me. But our instincts tell us, run away. But your prefrontal cortex has come in and said, no. If you run, that's bad. So let's think and let's be smart about how we get away. That is a great example, Levin, of you having trained your prefrontal cortex to overpower that amygdala in danger. Beautiful. Okay, great example. All right. Okay, this slide is where you have on your seesaw. Okay, so on slide 1 of your response, you have a text that says, so how does it all work? Okay, I want you to go ahead and go to that text, and I want you guys to grab a highlighter tool. Your highlighter tool is right at the bottom of your seesaw. I'm going to use this one because I am on the instructional slides. What I'm going to ask you to do is highlight important information that explains why tapping works. So we looked at tapping on Monday. We're going to look at it again today. And I want you to understand this isn't just some magical, goofy thing, right? This isn't just some silly thing that a teacher came up with and we decided to do it. This actually has brain science. There's a reason that this works, and we're going to talk about why today. All right, so highlighters ready? Let's highlight why this works. So how does it all work? The basic tapping technique requires you to focus on a negative emotion at hand. Okay, so in Levin's example, there's a bear. Okay, in other examples, there's a fire. Or in some more common real life examples, I have a lot of work to do and I don't know when I'm going to get it done. Or I have a basketball game coming up and I'm super nervous because I think I'm going to lose. Okay, so those types of negative emotions, when they aren't positive things that we want to sit in. Okay, let's continue reading. This can be a fear, a worry, or any unresolved problem. While maintaining your mental focus on this issue, you use your fingertips to tap 5 to 7 times on 9 specific meridian points of the body. There's more specific information below. Okay, let's keep reading. Tapping on meridian points sends a calming signal to the brain. Let's go ahead and highlight that. It sends a calming signal to the brain, letting your brain know it's safe to relax. Okay. So tapping lets your brain know, okay, I am really stressed out right now. I have to take this eye read test. I have to wear a mask all day. What if I get sick? What if I fail the test? So those negative thoughts that we have in our brain, when we're tapping, that's a calming feeling. Okay, so it helps someone calm us down. It helps us calm ourselves down, even though we have those negative thoughts. All right, let's keep reading. So, for example, when you receive bad news from your boss, or you begin to worry about future events, it triggers a part of your brain called the amygdala. We know that. We've learned about Amy, the amygdala. Okay. Go ahead and highlight that too. That's our brain part. So tapping is going to help calm our amygdala. It's going to help calm that jumpy superhero down. We need that superhero to stay alive, right? But bad news from our boss isn't going to kill us. Okay. Someone saying like, hey, I actually need you to do a double shift today. Stressful, not going to kill you. Okay. Your teacher saying, hey, you haven't turned in any work, so you have an F on your report card right now. Stressful, but not going to kill you. Okay. So that bad news does trigger the amygdala. It goes, what? But we have to train our brains. You don't have to freak out right now. We can handle this. Okay. We can get it under control. All right. When you think of the amygdala, one word should come to mind: fear. Okay, and we know that. We know that when the amygdala is triggered in our brains, it's because of fear. Fear from a literal danger, like a bear in Levin's example, or fear from a stress of failing a test. We're afraid of that. Or maybe fear from there's a new update and I told my friend I'd be online at 4 o'clock and he's going to think that I don't want to be with him because I have to clean my room now. Okay, that's also a fear. So fear is what is going on in our amygdala when it wakes up, when it jumps into action. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the next slide. All righty. Again, we're going to highlight information that teaches us why this strategy works. Okay. This part of the brain, the amygdala, is responsible for triggering the stress response in our bodies. Okay, we know that too. We've talked about it several times. So our brain is stressed, and that should be our cue to us. Oh, I need to use a calming strategy. Okay, I need to use tapping, or I need to use deep breathing, or I need to use counting. I need to name my feeling. That's a clue to us. Okay. For triggering the stress response in our bodies, releasing stress-related hormones into the bloodstream. This is also important. That's why a lot of times when you start to feel a stress, maybe some people, their whole body feels hot. Some people feel like, I have to get up, I have to go right now, I have to move. Okay, some people feel that way because our blood is all over our whole body. So those stress hormones from the amygdala go all over our whole bodies and cause that stress signal. Okay. Also popularly known as the fight or flight response, it is the body's natural reaction to a perceived threat. The problem is we tend to have our amygdala in charge way more often than we want. Let's highlight that. We've talked about that a lot this morning. Okay, we talked about in class, if a teacher says, hey, can you pick up your pencil? And a kid is like, ah, and freaks out. That's because their amygdala is in charge. Okay, their amygdala is telling them this is a big problem when it's not. It's a very small problem. Okay, but we have to train our brains to recognize big problems need this big reaction. Small problems need a smaller reaction. Still stressful, still annoying, still frustrating, but not so frustrating, stressful, or annoying that I'm in danger of dying. Okay, so we've got to bring our reactions back down. The amygdala's response is effective when you're faced with real life danger, but damaging when you want to feel calm and confident during a high stakes meeting. It's like yesterday during iRead, you wanted to feel calm and confident. You didn't want to feel like, oh my gosh, am I going to pass the test? Oh my, you wanted to feel that calm. So that's where TEX, our prefrontal cortex, comes in to help us get back to that calming area. And most of the time when this is happening in your body, you aren't experiencing the fight or flight or freeze response for the same reason that our ancestors did long ago. There's no tiger in the woods, or in Levin's example, there's no bear to run away from, but the response in your body is still the same, okay? So again, we're working on getting that prefrontal cortex to tell our brains, it's okay, you're gonna make it, okay? Picking up that pencil from the floor isn't gonna kill you. It's annoying, but just grab it, okay? So it retrains our brains for that, okay? Any questions about what we learned about our brains so far, or comments or connections? Yeah, Terrence.
Maybe it's something we learned last week.
What about it?
Did we already learn this?
Yeah, we looked at the parts of the brain, and today we're looking at what's happening in those parts. So last week we learned their names, or Monday I think it was, we learned their names, and now we're learning what they do. Any other connections, thoughts, or comments, questions? Okay, so you have just learned a lot. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to go into a breakout room with one partner, and you are going to teach them what you just learned. Okay, so what's happening in your brain when there's stress, and what do we need to change? Okay, so I'm going to send you in those breakout rooms. Go teach each other about your brain and about what's happening with those brain parts. Okay, all right, here you go. Okay, you explained to your partners what you learned about the parts of the brain. I'm curious about what you explained to your partners. Terrence, what did you learn about the brain so far?
That you could keep stress out by keeping yourself fit.
Nice. Keeping your brain fit. That's a great phrase. So not only do we have to work out our bodies, we also need to work out our minds and keep them fit. Great statement. Let's hear from Josh. Josh, what did you learn about the brain? Josh, I can't hear you. Unplug your headphones, baby. There you go.
I'm trying to remember.
Sure. Take your time, baby. Our brains need time to think.
That the amygdala tells you about your fight and freeze.
Yes.
response.
Yes, it does. Your brain is in charge of when there's danger. Are you going to fight? Are you going to run away, which is called flight? Or Josh brought up freeze. Okay. A lot of people just go, oh no, what do I do? And they freeze. Okay. I'm a freezer. When I feel very stressed out, I usually just I know I should be cooking dinner, but I feel so stressed out. I just sit there. I freeze. That's my response. That's what my amygdala does. Yep. What did you explain to your partner about the brain? Bella, what did you say about the brain? You'll need to unmute, Sissy, so we can hear you.
What did you say?
What did you learn about the brain so far? Looked at the parts of our brain. Or what did your partner tell you in your breakout room? Either way, what did you say or what did your partner tell you?
She didn't say anything.
Okay, what did you say? Oh no, did you forget to say something too? All right, Remember, when we go to our breakout rooms, we're expected to talk, okay? So when you come back, you should have something to say because you've already said it to your partner. So make sure that when you go in your breakout rooms, guys, we're sharing those ideas, okay? All right, Belly, you'll get a turn next time to share. All right, what more did we learn about our brains? Justin, what's something you learned about the brain?
That you can't just get mad over everything that you do.
Yeah, our brains can help us control our reactions, okay? Anger is fine. You can feel anger. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when our anger causes us to react way more than we should, okay? All right. So we have read about our brain. I just wanted to remind you of a few things before you're going to do that independent practice today. A few things that I want to remind you of is that there are things that can stress the brain. Fear, worry, pain, embarrassment, sadness, and anger. Those are all things that can trigger our amygdala to have a reaction. But we know that there are also things that we can do to help our amygdala get itself under control, such as resting, breathing, drinking water, saying our feelings, meditation, we'll talk about that one, and tapping. And that's a strategy that we've been learning, okay? So remember, be hopeful. You can do this. We're going to train our brain with mindfulness. All right, your slide that you have has a third slide for you. And on that third slide is the tapping video that you are going to watch during your independent work time. Okay, so we're going to take some independent work time today to complete this task. The first thing that you are going to do is you're going to describe how you are feeling and what stress is on your brain, okay? Maybe you're worried about, did I pass iRead yesterday? Maybe you're worried about, man, I don't know if I'm going to get to see my mom this weekend, okay? What is something that might be worrying you a little bit, okay? Maybe just COVID. Man, I'm so tired of COVID. I wish it would go away. That's a stress that a lot of us are experiencing right now. So you're going to describe what stress is on your brain, okay? Then you're going to click on this link and you're going to watch this video and participate. So during your independent work time, you're going to participate, all right? After you watch the video, I want you to describe how did your brain change, okay? How did your brain change while watching that video? And this is a different video than last week. I know that's the same face, but it's a different video, okay? So again, you're going to describe how you're feeling and what stress is on your brain. You're going to watch the video. You're going to do a brain check and see how it has changed, okay? What questions can I answer about this independent work that you're going to complete later today? No questions? Okay, then I will go ahead and stop this section and we will move into reading.